So our first lesson today is over the Missouri Compromise, which we actually have discussed prior to this, and we added it to your westward map a few weeks ago. But we're going to review the Missouri Compromise so that you can fill out your slide in your interactive notebook. So as we go through, I'll let you know what parts to add to your slide for your boxes. So it says the extension of slavery. Westward expansion strengthened the nation. It also caused problems. The most serious problem was the extension of slavery. And if you remember from the Cotton Gin video yesterday, they talked about how plantation owners started to move further west, expanding slavery out into the Western Territory as they looked for fertile land for their cotton. So in 1819, the nation consisted of 11 slave states, which permitted or allowed slavery, and 11 free states, which prohibited or did not allow slavery. However, Missouri had been seeking admission as a slave state since the year 1817. Northerners had reacted strongly. Adding another slave state would upset the balance in the Senate, where each state had 2 votes. Adding 2 more senators from a slave state would make the South more powerful than the North. So that paragraph right there actually explains why they had to come up with a compromise. And that is because adding another slave state would upset the balance in the Senate, where each state had 2 votes, because adding 2 more senators from a slave state would make the South more powerful than the North. And you actually don't need to add the part where it says where each state had 2 votes. It can just be upsetting the balance in the Senate. So those 2 can be 2 bullet points to go into your box why this compromise was created. They did not want to upset the balance of free and slave states. So in 1819, Representative James Talmadge of New York proposed that Missouri be admitted as a slave state. However, once it was admitted, no more slaves could be brought into the state. So basically what he came up with was, we'll admit you as a slave state, but absolutely no other slave owner can move into Missouri and bring slaves. The bill passed the House of Representatives, but it failed in the Senate. And from our government unit, you should remember you need both of those to approve bills. Southern senators feared that slavery itself, and thus the South's economic well-being, was being threatened. So we came up with the Missouri Compromise. In the next session of Congress, Maine applied for admission to the Union. Unlike Missouri, Maine prohibited or did not allow slavery. The admission of both a free state and a slave state would maintain the balance in the Senate. In 1820, Senator Henry Clay persuaded Congress to adopt the Missouri Compromise. It permitted Maine to be admitted to the Union as a free state and Missouri to be admitted as a slave state. In addition, the compromise provided that the Louisiana Territory north of the southern border of Missouri would be free of slavery, and the compromise had one other important feature. It gave southern slave owners a clear right to pursue escaped fugitives or runaways into free regions and return them to slavery. So for your slide where it says, what did the compromise say or do? It permitted Maine to be admitted to the Union as a free state, Missouri to be admitted as a slave state, and said that the Louisiana Territory north of the bottom or southern border of Missouri would be free of slavery. So all of that territory north of Missouri had to be free land. So that goes in your what did the compromise say box. Okay, and then the last part on your slide says, what do you think was the effect of the compromise? So the next page says, the Missouri Compromise revealed how much sectional or regional rivalries divided the states of the Union. So it basically showed how much the North and the South were divided. The compromise seemed to balance the interests of the North and the South. However, white Southerners were not happy that Congress had given itself the power to make laws about slavery. So in the box it says, what do you think was the effect? You had 2 effects. In the South, they weren't happy that Congress made laws regarding slavery because they were afraid of what that could mean in the future. However, in the North, and this also goes in the same box, Northerners were angry that Congress had allowed slavery to expand into yet another state. So those were your two effects of this compromise. So we start to see differences or rivalries, divisions between the South and the North based on this specific piece of law. So go ahead and fill out your slides for the Missouri Compromise. You can go back, watch this video, pause it however you need, and get this slide filled out.